Today, we celebrate a true servant leader. Someone whose 45-year career has been dedicated to representing America's dairy farmers in agricultural policy and advocacy. It is with great honor that World Dairy Expo names Jim Mulhern the 2025 Industry Person of the Year. Jim's journey began in Portage, Wisconsin, just north of Madison. While he didn't grow up on a dairy farm himself, weekends spent with friends and family on local farms sparked a lifelong passion for the dairy industry. His desire to go to bat for others and be a solid team member were cultivated in his youth, as was his desire to serve others. A middle school student during the Vietnam War era, Jim credits one of his 7th grade teachers with installing in him a fascination with politics. While witnessing his country seemingly being torn apart, Jim recognized the power of diplomacy. He also gained an appreciation for the art of compromise, being a middle child with older and younger siblings to contend with. His curiosity led him to study agricultural journalism at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and a summer internship in Washington, D.C. first immersed him in dairy policy. Jim knew from early on that he wanted to make a difference, not on the farm itself, but in supporting the people who feed our nation. That summer, he tackled some of the dairy industry's most pressing challenges, including supply-demand balance, a concern that would shape the trajectory of his career. After college, Jim joined a regional milk marketing cooperative based in Madison, representing dairy farmers across the Midwest and deepening his commitment to policy advocacy. Putting his journalism degree into practice, he served as Director of Communications. Politics and agriculture intersected perfectly for him, and that intersection became his life's work. This early work experience, interacting at the grassroots level with dairy farm families on a daily basis, laid the foundation for the ensuing 42 years of policy work. Jim's career path led him to Capitol Hill in 1982 and eventually to the National Milk Producers Federation. Jim directed the organization's government affairs activities and played a pivotal role in shaping its strategy in the face of the 1980s farm crisis, a desperate time for many of the nation's farm families. Jim's influence on Capitol Hill was felt by many. Tackling tough issues and bringing about consensus and solutions were his hallmarks. When Hollywood cast Dennis Quaid as a dairy lobbyist in the 1987 movie Suspect, it was Jim Mulhern he turned to in order to develop his character. While Jim found the film far-fetched, he remained hopeful people are able to separate Hollywood from reality. Meanwhile, back in reality, Herb Kohl was elected to the U.S. Senate and tapped the young lobbyist to serve as his chief of staff. In this role, Jim managed the D.C. office and state operations throughout Wisconsin, routinely advising the senator on legislative and political issues. During this time, Jim continued to learn firsthand how to negotiate and deliver legislation to positively impact the dairy industry. After working in the U.S. Senate, Jim went to work for Fleischman Hillard, a well-known international communications firm. He eventually held senior management positions for the Fratelli Group and later Watson Mulhern LLC, providing award-winning strategic counsel in government relations, issues and crisis management, and media relations. With 3 decades of government policy and communications experience throughout Washington, D.C., Jim returned to the National Milk Producers Federation staff, first as Chief Operating Officer for 1 year, then as President and Chief Executive Officer from 2014 to 2023. As CEO, Jim directed the dairy organization's work on a wide range of important issues, including trade policy, immigration reform, farm bills, environmental policy, animal care, nutrition issues, food labeling and standards of identity, sustainability, and much more. Mulhern led the Federation through 2 farm bills and worked to support policy changes and boost dairy exports. He's also been a vocal critic of plant-based product producers using dairy terms like milk and cheese. Great at communicating and taking on heavy issues and getting groups to work together, Jim was instrumental in expanding the dairy farmer-led Farmers Assuring Responsible Management, or FARM program, which works with dairy producers, cooperatives, processors, and industry partners to demonstrate the highest standards of animal care and sustainability on U.S. dairy farms. He also played a key role in establishing and eventually improving the Dairy Margin Coverage Program, or DMC. In addition, Jim was far ahead of the narrative on sustainability and carbon impact, bringing both policy leaders and environmental groups to the table. Every step of the way, Jim advocated on behalf of dairy farmers for farmer-led incentive-based programs. During his tenure, Jim saw remarkable industry transformations. The number of U.S. dairy farms decreased dramatically, while milk quality and farm professionalism soared. Through it all, he remained focused on the who, not just the what. The people, farmers, staff, colleagues were the heart of every accomplishment. As the sun sets on his career, the nation's dairy industry celebrates a man whose kindness, hard work, and collaborative nature are unmatched in policy circles. He's taught us that when our industry splits and goes different ways, we almost always categorically lose. When we pull together and find that common ground, dairy becomes a force that punches far above our weight. Dairy has been able to punch far beyond its weight with America's agricultural heavyweights because of Jim Mulhern.
Jim, on behalf of the many industry leaders who supported this award, congratulations on being named World Dairy Expo's Industry Person of the Year. The deep respect you have earned throughout the years from colleagues on both sides of the aisle on Capitol Hill, leaders throughout the dairy cooperative community, and from dairy farmers and processors alike, speaks volumes to your incredible contributions in making our dairy community a better place for everyone.
The U.S. dairy industry is the envy of the world in terms of the innovation of its dairy products and the groundbreaking work in sustainability. One of the reasons for that is the leadership and the vision and advocacy of people like Jim Mulhern. Jim, thank you for your tireless efforts to support American dairy farmers over many years and for making the industry an even better place for the next generation.
Jim, you have delivered positive outcomes far beyond your required duties at every job you have ever served. You have done so with kindness, hard work, and collaborative nature, unmatched in policy circles. You are the very epitome of a servant leader. That's why we are so pleased to celebrate you as the 55th winner of World Dairy Expo's longest-running award, Industry Person of the Year.
Beyond his professional achievements, Jim values family, learning, and health. He's now enjoying the third act of life, spending time with his friends and family, hiking, biking, traveling, and continuing to learn. And true to his roots, dairy remains central to his daily routine, from morning cereal with milk and yogurt to a refrigerator stocked with cheese. Receiving the 2025 Industry Person of the Year award is perhaps both a homecoming and a full-circle moment. Jim's story is one of dedication, humility, and vision. From the fields of Wisconsin to the halls of Congress, he's demonstrated that meaningful work is measured not just in accomplishments, but in the lives touched and the legacy left behind. Congratulations, Jim Mulhern, World Dairy Expo's 2025 Industry Person of the Year. Thank you for your leadership, your service, and your unwavering commitment to the future of dairy. Please join us in a round of applause.